What's going on? It's Astronaut H, and this is the What More Do You Want Network. Now, in this video, I will be discussing the Boston Celtics eliminating the Orlando Magic from the NBA playoffs. And for me, right, the Celtics, they look like the better team on paper. Of course, we know Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis. The list goes on and on and on. And for a Boston Celtics team who didn't have the best record in the Eastern Conference, but they were good enough throughout the entire regular season that we knew that this is where they would be, right? They would be at the top of the conference, top of the standings, and play a lower seeded team. Now, for the Orlando Magic, right, to be a play-in team and go through all the injuries with their best two players, from Franz Wagner missing time to Paolo Banchero starting the season off with one of the better performances of the regular season, to him losing, months out of the season. So you look at what the Orlando Magic did, even losing Jalen Suggs as well, them being able to get to a point where being in the playoffs, but having to go up against a Boston Celtic team who, when you look at this Celtic team, especially during this series, in game one, coming out the way they did, same thing could be said about game two. Now, when the Orlando Magic went home, that's when things kind of shifted a little. Now, what I will say is the Celtics do have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing for me, where they kind of play down to the level of their competition. Now, I'm not saying they did that in this series, but they have a habit of doing that at times, and they kind of got to turn it on. But what I will say is the Orlando Magic definitely showed, especially Paolo Banchero. He showed that he's one of the top younger players in the league. Same thing could be said about Franz Wagner. I think, Jason Tatum injury not gave them a step back, but it showed that it was time for the others also to be able to help this team. I'm talking about the Celtics, be able to get over the hump. And you've seen that, you've seen with performances from guys like Jaylen Brown, guys like Peyton Pritchard, guys like Derek White. The Celtics are one of those teams that, even without their best players, are still capable. For the Orlando Magic, they were without. And without a Jalen Suggs, who is one of their top level perimeter defenders, can shoot the ball, it's kind of tough. We have to lean on guys more or less of the Anthony Blacks, the Cole Anthonys. It's kind of tough. So offensively, I always felt like in this series, the Orlando Magic were behind the eight ball because the Celtics are just that powerful. You've seen that in the closeout game that, foul trouble definitely had something to do with it, but the Orlando Magic were in that game. They were in that final game, and it just came down to Paolo Banchero being in foul trouble, and because the Magic were dictating the pace of the last game. But once that happened and the shots started falling for the Boston Celtics, you pretty much knew where this was going. And again, like I said, kudos to the Orlando Magic for even getting in the playoffs and being able to make it somewhat respectable. A lot of people thought it was going to be a sweep, but it wasn't. And I credit that to the players, because at the end of the day, it could have went really, really south for them. But they showed toughness, they showed grit, determination in this series, and they did lose the series. I'm speaking on the Magic. They did lose the series, but when you look at the last two games, where they lose by, they get blown out, but they were in game 4. They were in game 4, but this is a team that when they did win in game 3, that was the game that I think if you were a Magic fan or are a Magic fan, that's the game where you say, okay, maybe we could get another one. But going down 3-1, you knew the Celtics were going to be able to close the show, and that's what they did. And that's a championship level team. So if you are the Magic, I'm definitely going. If you are a Magic fan, I'm definitely going to make a separate video on what I think they should do next. But if you are a Boston Celtic fan, of course, you know that moving on to the next stage into the NBA playoffs is what you want, and what you want to see from a team that aspirations are another championship. So for me, you know, it was part of the course. You know, I had the Boston Celtics winning this series, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do. You know, they beat a lower seeded team, and will move on into the NBA playoffs. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Boston Celtic fans, Orlando Magic fans, NBA fans, basketball fans, or if this is just your first time tuning into the channel, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell to know anytime a video is being uploaded to this channel. It's Astronaut H. This is the What More Do You Want Network, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.